Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of the Joshcast. This is going to be my little podcast experiment wherever I can talk mostly about movies, sometimes relevant things going on that I might want to talk about if you're interested in hearing my dumb opinions. For this first episode, it's just going to be me talking to you. It's just going to be me solo. Eventually, I'm going to get guests on, but for this episode, just treat it as a nice little friend simulator or something. You know, I can say something and then leave a little pause for you to interact. Like, for example, Deadpool 2 was a great movie. And then that's where you would come in with, yeah, it was great, Josh. We're such good friends. So just sit back, relax. Maybe you're taking a long car ride. Maybe you're at work and need something to listen to. Regardless, just pop open a Baja Blast and let's get into this. So today's topic, as you can tell by the title, is going to be Deadpool 2 and the Black Ops 4 reveal. For the first half, I'm going to be talking about Deadpool 2, and then I'll get into Black Ops 4 later on. So Deadpool 2, it just came out. I saw it last night. When I ordered the tickets in advance, they actually gave me a free poster, which was pretty cool. I wanted to wait to actually see the movie before hanging it up, because if the movie ended up being bad, I'd have to take that shit down. That happened to me with The Last Jedi. I got a poster for it before I saw the movie, and I hung it up. Then we all know how The Last Jedi turned out, so, you know, I had to tear that shit down. But let me say, after I saw the movie, though, I can safely hang it up, because the shit was fire. So, going into Deadpool 2, I gotta admit, guys, I was pretty worried. The reason being that Deadpool 1, it set the bar so high to begin with. Not only did it make a killing at the box office, it was also a pretty solid movie on its own. Like, the only gripe that I had with the first movie was that I found some of the comedy to be kind of, like, stale. It felt like it didn't have a long shelf life. Like, I only laughed the first time I saw it, then the other few times I saw it afterwards, I didn't really find it to be super funny. I feel like a lot of the charm kind of wore off after the first viewing. I still think the first one is great. It's just more of like a personal gripe with me. I think it's a non-issue. Anybody who enjoyed the film probably wouldn't agree with me, so just disregard that stupid opinion. But all of my worries went away, though, whenever I walked out of the theater, because, guys, the Deadpool 2 is fire. And in my opinion, it's even better than the first one. I'm not going to get into spoilers just yet, you know, so don't worry if you haven't seen it yet. I'll give you a fair warning before I break into the details. But, the thing that I've heard with this movie, it's either one of two things. So it's either people have seen the movie and they say it's either good, but not as good as the first one, or it's good and it's even better than the first one. And I fall into the latter of that, because it feels like they really tighten the screws this time around. You know, the action's great, the comedy is way better, and compared to the first film, I actually left the theater still with a shitload of jokes in my memory. I remember when the first movie came out, and I forgot half the jokes by the time I made it from the theater to my car, but this time around, in my opinion, it's way better. And with the plot of this film, this is where I've seen the most mixed consensus, but it feels bigger to me this time around. In the first movie, it felt really condensed and simple, like it was very linear, it was a very, like, straight line plot, but in this one, there's so much more going on. You have a tragedy in Deadpool's life. He gets sent to this prison. He's having to protect this kid from Cable. There's time travel and stuff. He assembles a team. There's so much more. There's so much more going on in this film than in the first one. In the first one, it was very cut and dry. It was like, this is the objective. I have to get this. But in this one, there are a lot more obstacles and a lot more development happening. And I think it worked really well. There's a lot more depth, I guess. The only gripes that I had in this movie were the graphics, and again, like, the gripes that I have, they're not even, like, huge gripes. Like, while the Deadpool movies so far have never really been known as a bastion for visual effects, like they've never been touted as having amazing special effects. But in this movie, there are a few notable moments where the shit just looks kind of bad. It doesn't look awful, but it straight up looks like PS2 graphics in a few scenes. Like, there's a scene with Domino. It's like her first big action scene where they show off her luck superpower, and it looks really fake, like all the cars flying around her and stuff, and like crashing and stuff. Like, it just looks so obviously fake they still pulled it off, and it doesn't really take you completely out of the movie. But I was just kind of surprised with how self-aware this movie tries to be, that they didn't even crack a joke or something about the graphics. Whenever something looks that noticeably fake, you'd almost expect the camera to pan to Deadpool for him to say like some funny line about how weird the graphics looked or something. I will say though, he does bring it up with the new character that's introduced near the middle act of the film. They introduce a character, I'm not going to spoil who it is, but it's pretty much made entirely of CGI, and Deadpool cracks a pretty funny joke when this character fights another character that's made of CGI. So they pretty much get away with it, but you would think if they're self-aware enough to make a joke about that, they'd also bring it up with the domino scene. But my best guess is they didn't want to come across as repetitive with some of the comedy, and that's kind of the essence of Deadpool and Deadpool 2. It's a lot of subversion and avoiding coming across as repetitive. And I really like the subversion, especially in this movie. While you might be expecting the plot to go one direction, it takes you in a completely different one. They even did it with the trailers, like the whole assembling a team thing and the hype they built around that. Like you would expect the movie to be about like forming a team and stuff. And no spoilers, but it's definitely not what you think. And I was actually kind of happy that they took it in a different direction, because the whole team-up concept has felt really overplayed in cinema as of late, from the new Han Solo movie with the trailer being like, hey kid, I'm assembling a team, to like Marvel Infinity War to Civil War. I'm just tired of seeing team-up movies and crossovers. I'm tired of it. Get your own damn movie. So I'd recommend seeing the shoot as soon as possible, guys. Like, I had a pretty great time watching it. It's more enjoyable than the first movie, in my opinion, but if you loved the first movie, you're definitely going to love this one. And maybe even if you don't think it's better than the first one, you're still going to think it's great. And now, I'm going to start getting into spoilers, so if you don't want to get spoiled, get the fuck out of here. Go see Deadpool 2 and then come back and finish this. Or, hey, maybe you like to live life dangerously, and you want the movie spoiled before you see it. So, from here on out, the rest of the review, it's going to be spoiler heavy. Don't say I didn't warn you. You can't complain now. Okay? Are you gone? Okay, let's get into it. So, I think my favorite part of this movie is when Deadpool sets up the X-Force to help protect this kid from Cable and break him out of prison and all that. Like, all of the trailers, the clips shown, everything leads you to believe it's going to be this great superhero team-up movie. That's what I went into the movie expecting from having seen the trailers. Like, oh, okay, they're doing an Avengers thing, or they're doing an X-Men thing. But then once they jump out of the plane, pretty much all of them die except for Deadpool and Domino, and I thought that was fucking hilarious. And that scene alone pretty much encapsulates the essence of what these Deadpool movies are. They're superhero movies for people who are tired of superhero movies. And I personally didn't like Infinity War. I saw it opening night, and I'm not like a Marvel or superhero movie hater, but I'm getting a bit of fatigue with them, My issue lies a little bit with the audience of them. Like, you either have the diehard fanboys who cry while watching the Infinity War trailer and audibly scream when their favorite character dies, and yes, people actually screamed when their favorite character died in the movie theater that I was in. It was depressing. But then you also have the people who just mercilessly hate these movies. Like every time a new Marvel movie comes out, they always come out of the woodwork to just bash the movies to no end. They view them as this sort of annoyance, I guess. And I'm in the middle of these two. Like I'm just a guy who wants to see a fun summer action superhero movie. I'm not attached to the movies. I don't care about the characters or their storylines. I don't cry in the theater. But I also don't hate these movies either. Like, I still find them to be fun. And with Infinity War, I don't know, man. It just felt really hokey and repetitive. Like, it didn't feel really any different from the past movies in that universe. The only mildly ballsy thing they did was just kill a bunch of characters. But if you take 2 seconds to look at the IMDb page of all those characters that died, it becomes pretty clear that they're all gonna come back. Like, Tom Holland has another Spider-Man movie lined up. There's another Black Panther movie coming out. They're making a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So it just made the movie feel pretty pretty fucking pointless if they're just gonna go back and change everything in the sequel. Like, why should I even feel invested in anything that happens in these movies now if I know they can just change things back to fit their box office needs, you know? And that's why Deadpool really speaks to me, because, again, it's a superhero movie for people who are tired of these standardized, serialized Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And you can totally like both. I'd imagine most of the people who went to see Deadpool 2 are probably fans of the MCU. But for me, Deadpool it's just more enjoyable because it doesn't fit that same formula. I also really like Josh Brolin as Cable in this movie. I liked him more as Cable than as Thanos, and a lot of that lies within the writing. Like, you have a movie like Infinity War, and as a villain, Thanos just isn't that interesting. He only states his motivations. We don't really see anything that would actually lead the audience to believe he feels that way. Like, there's a rule in screenwriting that goes, show, don't tell. You should always show things, then just explicitly state them, through the dialogue. It's how the audience perceives shit on screen. Like, in Infinity War, half the dialogue is them explaining the fucking plot, and whenever Thanos, does something villainous or whatever, or whenever he explains his motivations, he's just sitting there explaining it. He doesn't do anything aside from killing half the characters in the end or whatever. There's nothing there that gives the audience any reason to feel attached. As opposed to this movie, with the way they wrote Cable, he's literally got his dead kid's teddy bear at his wayside. That alone, just from the visual of that, it just adds more depth to Cable, and it makes it lets his motivations make more sense to the audience. He's been personally affected by this kid killing his family in the future. We see a flashback of him discovering his family burned to death. His motivations are pretty clear, and the audience can understand that and why he's doing this stuff in literally 2 seconds if they just look at him, if they see just from the flashback, all that stuff. Versus with Thanos, I still barely fucking understand what the hell his motivations are. Okay, he wants to wipe out half the universe to fix some resource problem or whatever. It's not that interesting or anything that I feel invested in. But with Cable, they actually managed to do it right, and aesthetically is pretty damn cool too. When they were casting Cable back last year, I was really hoping it was going to be Stephen Lang. He was my first choice, especially after having seen him as the blind guy in Don't Breathe. It just seemed like the perfect choice. He was buff, intimidating, looks just like him. But I think Josh Brolin pulled it off perfectly, and again, aesthetically, he was just cool. There's a scene of him assembling his gun, and it reminded me so much of the first Terminator. It just looks so dope. I also like the kid in the movie that Deadpool's trying to protect. When I saw the trailers, I wasn't sure about the casting choice, but it's pretty solid. The thing I liked about it was it just seemed more realistic. Probably not a good word to use for these types of movies, but it just felt realistic. You have a chubby kid in his adolescence struggling to understand the world, and it seemed more grounded in reality than just casting some photogenic normie kid compare this to Terminator 2, which this movie is really similar to. While John Connor in T2 is a badass kid, it's definitely not super realistic with how kids are or act at that age. I felt like this movie managed to make it feel more like I was seeing an actual kid. And the girl who played Domino was also great in the role. I don't have any complaints at all in that department. I was hoping to see more of Negasonic Teenage Warhead because I liked the dynamic between her and Deadpool in the first movie. It was just pretty funny. I was hoping they would expand more on that. She only shows up here and there, in a few scenes, and then she has a bigger scene at the end of the movie. But I was hoping to see more. And then the other thing I just have to bring up is the two big cameos that pretty much killed me in the theater. The first was when Deadpool, he's at the X-Men mansion and he's complaining about how they can't get any other X-Men because their budget is too low and all that, and he walks past the full X-Men cast from the new trilogy, Days of Future Past and Apocalypse. I thought that was genius, and I'm hoping that they're slightly alluding to the idea we may see them in a future Deadpool movie. Maybe in the next one, if they end up making Deadpool a complete trilogy, it would be awesome to see Deadpool and Quicksilver interact with each other. I think that dynamic would be really interesting. The other cameo was just this is stupid, but it was a 2-second flash of Brad Pitt This is it's during the X-Men, they're the X-Force team up scene. One of the heroes they accept to their group is called Vanish, and we don't see who Vanish is the whole time because he's invisible. Then when Vanish dies by parachuting into a power line, we see that it's Brad Pitt, it's just hilarious. I thought it was great. I also read that in an article I read that one of the two rednecks that Cable encounters whenever he time travels is Matt Damon. He's the one on the left, I think, which is that's wild. The last thing I want to mention before I close this review is there's a deleted end credit scene that didn't make it to the movie, but I really wish that they did because it involves Deadpool using Cable's time travel device, like in the montage of him using it in that end credit sequence. There was going to be a moment where he goes back in time to kill baby Hitler, which that's just hilarious. That they should have 100% kept that in. It would have been great because I think he even introduces that idea in the movie, so it would have been a good tie up, I guess would be the term. But yeah, that's my little review of Deadpool 2. I thought it was great. I'd probably give it a solid 8, maybe a light 9 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think. And eventually, probably for the next review, I'm going to have somebody else on with me, and we can kind of break into the movie and have a full-on conversation instead of just me rambling about dumb shit. But yeah, so that's my quick and done review. So the same day Deadpool 2 came out, there was also the Black Ops 4 reveal, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, but with my roots coming up in music and stuff, I've always been huge into the Call of Duty franchise. Mostly, almost exclusively with Treyarch games because Zombies is my favorite shit of all time. I've been obsessed with Zombies since World at War came out. It's always been the mode I've been obsessed with literally for years. And I was hyped as hell to find out Treyarch was going ahead with Black Ops 4. I think it's a great idea. So for the reveal, they broke it down into each game mode, and I'm going to talk about each one and give you my opinion as if that matters. So first is multiplayer. I gotta be honest with you guys, I've never really been into the multiplayer game mode itself. The only time I kind of got into it was with World War II, because I found that to be more enjoyable than Sledgehammer's attempt at zombies, which, let's not get into it. But outside of that, I've never really found myself playing multiplayer, so it's not something I give much of a shit about, but I do like the direction they're taking it. I don't really have any sort of any complaints. One complaint I heard from people is that it looks like a reskin of Black Ops 3's multiplayer, just with boots on the ground instead of using jetpacks, but I don't mind it at all. I think that's a good direction to go in, to be honest, because I liked the feel of Black Ops 3's multiplayer, and having it boots on ground seems to make way more sense. It's either that or them reskinning Black Ops 2, which I guess would be nice, but think about it this way, right? Everybody wants another Black Ops 2 style COD. Believe me, I want it too. Black Ops 2, it still remains my favorite Call of Duty game. I know people always hate on Transit, but the vibe of that Zombies map was my own favorite. I love the diner, farm, town, all of that stuff. It just has a really dope vibe. I like the small 50s inspired zombie stuff, and especially Buried too. That's one of my favorite maps, and even multiplayer had some really great maps. Nuketown was godly, Hijacked was flames, but I think the reason they're distancing themselves more and more from Black Ops 2 is because at some point we're probably going to see a remaster of it. Everybody keeps asking for it, so I think that's what we're going to end up seeing, and Treyarch probably doesn't want to make another Black Ops 2 style game because they've already done it, and it would just be too similar if they remastered it and then had a game come out that's really similar to it. But yeah, the one thing I'll say though that's a little bit worrying about the new way that they're doing multiplayer is the new way to replenish health. It doesn't auto regenerate, so you have to manually hit a button to bring it back up. I personally don't fuck with that at all. I can see why people might like it, but I think it's going to be one more thing to just piss people off in Call of Duty multiplayer. I'm having a hard time enough trying to get kills as it is. Now they've just added another step that I have to force myself to memorize that could get me killed even easier now. Still though, I don't see much of an issue with what I've seen from multiplayer, but I'm not a diehard multiplayer guy, so it's not super applicable to me. It is a little disheartening to see all the dislikes on the trailer for it. I think it has over 100,000 dislikes or something. It's ridiculous. The hate on Call of Duty is insane. I feel like the hate is just as annoying as the hype for it. I guess, but but next is the Battle Royale mode, Blackout. So with all of the hype between, Fortnite, PUBG, and for the weirdos out there, Radical Heights, battle royale games are just they're crushing the scene right now. Everybody and their mother is doing Fortnite videos right now. LEA is thriving. We gotta stop it. But but as much as Fortnite pisses me off, I think it's a great game for what it is, and has rightfully earned its spot as top dog for the year in 2018 so far. Like I'm very interested to see what Treyarch does with this battle royale mode. I'm honestly curious if it's gonna end up being a competitor or something, and I don't know if it is. The main thing that I'm worried about is if it's gonna be in third or first person. I would like to see it in third person. I get people are like, but it's Call of Duty, it's gotta be in first. But if you take a game like Fortnite and analyze why it's become so successful, a lot of that outside the building lies within it being a third-person game. I like it being in that perspective because a lot of emphasis in Epic Games' business model is selling skins for characters, and that seems to be what Treyarch wants to do with this Blackout mode. In the trailer, they show how you can be any character from the past Black Ops games, but that's kind of useless if you're playing it in first person. You can't even see the character or skin you pick. With customization and building your own character, it just seems useless because you're not gonna see the shit you pick or that you buy. Like, if Treyarch ends up selling skins and items in the same manner of the item shop in Fortnite, I'd actually like to see the character I'm playing as. If I can be a character from Zombies, I want to see them, not just their forearms in first person. At the very least, they should add the option to switch between first and third. I think that would be the easiest way to like handle this sort of issue, I guess. And as for it being a competitor to Fortnite, I really don't see it becoming one. I think the way Black Ops 4 is going to work is they're just going to hype it up a ton when it comes out. They'll play it for about a month or two, then just switch back to Fortnite if it doesn't absolutely knock it out of the park. And even then, I don't think the momentum behind Fortnite is even going to slow down with Black Ops releasing. Also, having characters you can pick in the Blackout mode, it's mostly restricted to Call of Duty characters. I don't think it's going to be able to attract the masses like Fortnite does, because Fortnite does so well with their characters. They introduce new and crazy character designs in the item shop. If I only have the pick between already existing Call of Duty characters, it'll be cool, but they don't have Thanos, they don't have the tomato skin guy, they don't have all these wacky, weird, crazy characters. I think Call of Duty might be more open to brand integration than Fortnite, though. Because I've seen all the brand integration that Call of Duty has done before, so it definitely seems likely that we could see whatever popular movie comes out, like a Deadpool skin would be pretty flames, and if they did that, I would pretty much I would just ditch Fortnite if Call of Duty had a Deadpool skin, but again, I don't think this is going to be a huge competitor to Fortnite, especially because Fortnite has building, which that alone is a pretty big staple in its success. Blackout could, from what I'm seeing, with vehicles and it being more focused on combat and stuff, I think it's going to be like a PUBG reskin, but just Call of Duty themed. So potentially the game could kill PUBG, but most likely not Fortnite. That's just my opinion, though. I'm super normie when it comes to this stuff. I'm not super dedicated into it. I'm a little obsessive, but not super dedicated. I don't know all the ins and outs. And last but not least, we got Zombies. And I think Treyarch is going to hit it out of the park with this one. At launch, we're getting 3 Zombies maps, which is the most we've seen since Black Ops 2. I remember Black Ops 2 launched, and that gave us Transit, which also split up the transit stops into their own separate maps. And even then, there was Nuketown Zombies, so it's like 4 or 5 maps or something on launch. And then Black Ops 3 was just Shadows of Evil. So I think that this is a great direction to go in. I'm going to be in Zombies heaven, guys, when this drops, because that's 3 maps, and each one seems to be its own unique style to appeal to pretty much everybody in the Zombies community. We have the classic nostalgia map, which is Mob of the Dead Remastered. Then we have more of the usual Treyarch zombie style map, which is the Voyage of Despair, where you're on the Titanic fighting zombies on the ship. And then you have what looks to be I think this is like total innovation, which is the 9 map. It's set in medieval gladiator times, and from the looks of the like snippet that they showed us, the like clip, it looks like there might not be any guns. It might just be swords, and I welcome all the maps. To be honest, I'm literally excited to play every single one. The only thing I'm iffy on is the new set of characters. I kind of wish that they would stick with the original crew, or maybe even bring back the crew from Black Ops 2, maybe just for a map or something. I really like those guys, Misty and all that stuff. It was good stuff, but I think that's just really me nitpicking. I think that the gameplay alone is going to be pretty flames. Yeah, I'm stoked for Zombies. I'm stoked for Black Ops 4, and I'm really stoked to see what they do with the DLC for Zombies. I'm hoping we get more interesting, more like unique map ideas. Like, I'm really glad they're doing this boat idea for Zombies. It seems more unique. I would like them to focus on trying to make more like iconic maps, like Mob of the Dead or Buried, or whatever big iconic maps were in Black Ops 3. I think that would be the best route to go in. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this podcast. This is a pretty short one because it's just me rambling. I can't talk for an hour long. Like, what is this, a TED Talk? But whenever I get guests on, then it's gonna go longer because I'll be having a full-on conversation about certain topics and stuff. I think I'm doing that with Solo next week. I'm gonna go see that movie, and I'm kind of hoping it's bad so that way I have something to talk about with it. Because what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do this again? I'm just gonna suck the movie's dick. But yeah, guys. So I'll catch you in the next one. It should be Solo, and then so here's kind of the deal with what I'm doing right now. I'm in the process of moving. I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to stay in the same place that I'm at or if I'm going to be moving somewhere else. A lot of that is really stress-inducing. It's a lot. And on top of that, I'm making a new album. So channel uploads on here are not going to be very frequent. That's the reason why I'm doing this podcast thing. So that way you have long-form content instead of just like a short little video that I would upload like once a week or something like that. For this, I can give you a lot of content all at once. And it can be a little like sporadic with how it drops. So yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully it was something that you didn't get bored with or whatever. And if you did, I'm sorry, but this is the first episode, so we can only go up from here. It's not like I can get worse or anything. Cool. I'll see you guys later.